And that's the forecourt of Ghana's parliament. The Guard of Honor parade that the President of the Republic will be inspecting has been mounted by the Ghana Navy. And you can see the days there right in your shot. The President of the Republic will, in a few minutes, it's a little over 9 now, in a few minutes around 10 a.m., he will address the Guard of Honor parade there at the Parliament House. There are 2 colleagues, Evelyn Tengma and Mercy Darling Lokwa. They will bring you some more pictures from there, but you could hear the sights, you could see the sights and hear the sounds, the rich African culture, the drums as they're heralding and welcoming the dignitaries. Already, former President Jerry John Rawlings and his wife are there in the auditorium. Members of the Council of State, some senior statesmen as well are there. Members of the diplomatic corps are there. The parliamentarians are trickling in. They should be seated before the president arrives. Well, when the president arrives, they will have a few proceedings, and then they will invite the president to make a speech. In studio with me this morning, having a precursor conversation, Professor Kojo Kavua is a member board of the Public Policy Institute of Ghana, also security expert, and Mr. Joe Jackson, who is the Chief Operating Officer at Delex Finance. Joe, you were airborne. You were talking about.
Let me just wrap up.
Yes,
Mr. President, our appeal this morning is that stick to those initiatives that you gave us 2 years ago, that you repeated a year ago, but execute. Hold your team to their reckoning. If there's anything we want to hear how you will make sure that those initiatives that got us excited, the formalization of the economy to draw in more people to pay taxes, the emphasis on property taxes, the one village, one dam, one district, one factory. Get them done.
I spoke with Mr. Kofi Nti of the Ghana Revenue Authority, and he told me that, well, to formalize the economy, that's why they have had the revenue department of NABCO. You know, the NABCO had Revenue Ghana. So they were going to, because I put it to him that, look, the masons, the carpenters, all these guys, they go scot-free, tax-free. So they should be dealt with. He said, well, that's why they set it up. You don't think that it's workable?
I don't think so. There is a workable model that we all know of, which is known in local government as they call the Lagos model, because when Lagos State in Nigeria was cut off from central government funding in Obasanjo's time, they evolved a model that works, and it is based on mapping the area and giving it as a concession for the first 5 years in property taxes and all other kinds of taxes. I'm talking about a journey of less than 40 minutes by air to the east of this country.
Right.
A model that works, and they know it because we know that local government authorities have gone over, DCs, etc., have gone over to see the Lagos model. Why isn't that not working? It doesn't depend on NABCO. They are not government employees. The model that works, the people who collect the taxes are not government employees, and yet they are not state employees, and yet they've increased tax collections way above what the Revenue Authority has been able to do. There's still the port. We know the leakages at the port. Why have the issues there been stalled?
The paperless system hasn't worked?
It has worked to some extent, and it's stalled because of politics. Execute. There's no new initiative that we need today. We only need, listen, it's 3 words: execution, execution, execution.
Can the politician resist the temptation not to make any more promises? The president is a politician. He has a party who are expecting him to make more promises to tingle the ears of the electorate and prepare them for 2020. Can he refuse or resist the temptation?
Well, it's very simple. You can keep promising. But remember, every promise comes with a backlash when the promise doesn't hold true. So the president has a choice. He can give us any more promises. He can give us many more promises. He can give us fine rhetoric. But ultimately, he will receive the backlash from a disappointed populace who feel that all he has done is to talk to them and not listen. When there's money in my pocket, why won't I vote you back again? When I feel that my life has improved, you see, this thing is not about what we are doing here. It is about real lives.
Right.
Real children who have to go to school. Real parents who are dealing with the double track system. Real farmers who face ruin if the rains don't come well. It is about the cost of fuel. It is about everything that matters to us on the ground. Promises are not it.
Okay.
Something has to improve our lives.
Right. Prof, let me come to you. We'll talk about security broadly shortly, but let me come to you and ask this question about all the key initiatives that government has put up. Free SHS, we know how it's sapping what we are able to get, one district, one factory, one village, all those policies. And I like to call it the politician's dream and the taxpayer's burden. Have they been worth the while, Prof?
Well, the policies, the policy statements and the policies are based on good intentions. But are they deliverable? That is the issue we are all raising, and why my friend Mr. Jackson would say, we are not expecting anything new today. Because indeed, we should not live up to expectations today. We should live up to the reality. And the reality on the ground is that many Ghanaians are not expecting more promises because the promises have not been delivered to the extent to which would see transformation in the conditions of lives of Ghanaians.
Well, what we have spent so far, can we count our costs?
That is what we are hoping to hear today.
Okay.
This is State of the Nation address. It is not a budget statement.
Right.
It is not about the future. What have we done so far based on the promises that we have given to Ghanaians?
Right.
The free SHS, where are we? What are the challenges? What do you intend to do about that? The one dam, one factory, one district, one factory. How many do we have? What are the challenges? Where are we going as a nation? Otherwise, it will be as if we are taking Ghanaians for granted, and as if Ghanaians are so gullible, just tell them anything, give them promises, more promises, and then they will be okay. Let's take it. The workers out there,
Okay.
taxi drivers, market women, farmers, it's not about the promises. It's about what they feel in their homes. Are they able to take good care of themselves and their families? Okay, where are we today as a people?
Let's talk.
That is one point.
Let's talk about free SHS, for example.
Yeah.
And the intake has been touted as a major achievement.
Yeah.
From free SHS 1 to 2, we're getting into the third year. Now, we're looking at the output. When they are done with secondary school, second cycle institution, they will get into university. Do we have the capacity to even absorb them, especially when it is not free?
Thank you very much. The free SHS, for example, just like the other policies, they are not ends in themselves. The free SHS is not an end in itself, that we've increased intake in the high schools. So we've succeeded. They should clap for us.
Right.
Okay. Now, what is the ultimate goal? And you're asking, have we made any preparations for absorbing those who come out of the free SHS into the tertiary educational institutions? I don't think we have done much about that, because as we speak, government, for example, is taking away those on post-retirement contract beyond 65. Okay. And yet we know when you do that, the medical school, for example, okay, may collapse because many of the young doctors don't want to operate as lecturers in the medical school because the pay they receive there will not be good enough. They are better in private business or working in the Ministry of Health. How do you convince them? Where are you going to recruit more people? We are not planning for that. Where are the hostels for the new students to live?
Is behind at this point. And the president goes on now to inspect the guard of honor, his two ceremonial ADCs, the Inspector General of Police and the Chief of Defense Staff, together with him there as he inspects of guard of honor at the forecourt of Parliament, preceding the State of the Nation address. This will be his third since he became president, and the Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution stipulates, I beg your pardon, that every sitting president at the start of each session of Parliament or before that session closes must address Parliament on what the state of the nation is, and that's exactly what it's doing. So it is a constitutional requirement on the president, and there you have it in your shot. The military drills happening there, very beautiful ceremony if you ask me. The president is taking all the honors and the salute at this point because he is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. And so it is a big day in Ghana. Expectations are high, and many questions keep flooding in on our WhatsApp console. You can always join us and let your voice be heard as well. No voice is still small or very small to hear. We would want to hear what your thoughts are. And on the floor of Parliament, we have two ladies, crack team of journalists out there, Mercy Darling Loco and Evelyn Temma. Parliament will bring you all the fine details. The House is full at this point. They have a full complement of it. So right after the president is done inspecting the guard of honor at the forecourt, he will get into the lobby and he will be ushered into the chamber of Parliament by the leadership of Parliament, comprising the Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honourable Professor Aaron Michael Quay, the Majority Leader, Honourable Oseichi Mensah Bonso, the Minority Leader, Honourable Haruna Idrisu, and also we will have the whips join in to invite the president into the House, because technically the president is a visitor in the House. The House belongs to the legislature, and they will have to welcome him into the House in accordance with Ghanaian custom. You just walk into somebody's home, they welcome you into their home. But in the chamber at this point, we have dignitaries. Wife of the vice president is in there. The president's wife is there as well. The first lady is there, and we have diplomatic corps and a lot more persons there. So the guard of honor parade is done. The commander of the parade is handing over and telling the president that everything is over, so he can take leave of them and get into the chamber of Parliament for proceedings to commence on the third State of the Nation address. Has been highly anticipated by everybody across Ghana, across Africa, and in other parts of the diaspora as well. The President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, today will speak. And as you've heard my panelists say earlier, the clarion call is that they are not looking for a new promise from the President today. They are looking for him to tell us what has been achieved over the period, especially into the chamber as today is a very momentous occasion. The President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, will give us the State of the Nation address. Key on the agenda today is the state of security, the strength of the Ghanaian cedi in the face of other foreign currency or major trading currencies. And there in your shots, you can see the two ladies, the First Lady and the wife of the Vice President there in the shot. Lovely. There you can also tell the police represented, the police band represented in the public gallery of Parliament. It's a full house. It's a full house in the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana this morning. And so the House is full, and we're expecting that the President will speak on a myriad of issues: the financial crisis, the effect of same, the missed revenue targets, the national ID, the Ghana Post GPS, formalization of the economy. Former President Rawlings with his the former First Lady in your short there. I see Madam Nadu Mills as well, wife of former President Mills, the late, and Mr. Julius Debra, former Chief of Staff, in your shorts there. So the indication is that the President is coming in now, is leaving the lobby of Parliament and getting into the chamber. The parliamentarians have risen to their feet, a mark of respect for the President of the Republic as they welcome him into their midst to deliver to them the State of the Nation address. Key also on the agenda today, I'm sure, will be issues of recruitment, NABCO, the resources that we have, the promises and the delivery. And then we have the President with the Vice President coming in as well. I see Chief of Staff as well, Deputy Chief of Staff John Jinapo there. The President is coming in. It's an exciting day. Shakes hands with the former President Rawlings as he walks straight in, and you could clearly see the IGP and CDS throwing salutes the way of the former First family as well. Once a president, they say always a president, and so respect will be given to whom it is due. It's an extended coverage of the State of the Nation address to be presented in Parliament today by the President of the Republic of Ghana. Know that the State of the Nation address was instituted by under the President Kufuor regime, and so it's traveled on through President Kufuor's regime, through President Mills's regime, through President Mahamad's regime, and President Akufo-Addo is pleased to follow through with that tradition of announcing or telling the state, more like an annual general meeting of a sort, telling us the costs and the effect of what has been done and what we're planning to do in the coming year. And the President Mahamad, they had what they call the evidence-based State of the Nation address, where persons were brought into the public gallery to be shown to the public as a testimonial to what had been done. And we're seeing shots of the President and former President Mahama concurrently on your shots right there. The Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana, Madam Gloria Kufu.
To have in the House His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana and Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces.
Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. The government side is heavily represented, as well as that of the minority and the majority. It's a full house, and debates will be held following the delivery of the President in the House of Parliament this morning. And one key ingredient is the fact that the president is time conscious. If he says he will be there at 10:20, he'll be there at 10:20 exactly. If he will be there at 10:15, he says so. The Speaker of Parliament, let's hear him now.
And other justices of the Superior Court of Judicature of the Republic. The former President, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, and his wife, Mrs. Nana Kunedu Ajimon Rawlings. The former President of the Republic, His Excellency, President John Mahama. Order. Order. The Chairman and members of the Council of State. Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps. Traditional and religious leaders, eminent citizens of our country, my wife, Alberta, order. Leaders of all political parties in the Republic. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen here present. Honorable members, His Excellency, the President, is in the House this morning in accordance with Article 67 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana to deliver his message on the state of the nation. On behalf of the leadership, honorable members and officers of this House, it is my singular honor to welcome His Excellency, the President, to this House. And now, I respectfully invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to deliver his message on the state of our nation. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, glad to be here with you again in this august house, the Parliament of our Republic, to perform for the third time the pleasant duty of fulfilling my constitutional obligation by giving honorable members and the Ghanaian people a message on the state of the nation. In accordance with protocol and convention, it's good to see the First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo, Vice President Muhammadu Bawumia, Second Lady Samira Bawumia, spouse of Mr. Speaker, Mrs. Alberta Okoye, Chief Justice Sophia Akufo, and Justices of the Supreme Court, Chairperson Nana Utusibo II, and members of the Council of State, Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Obi Akwa, Inspector General of Police David Asante Pietu, and service chiefs are all present. Speaker, the House is duly honored by the welcome attendance of the former presidents of the Republic, the first and fourth presidents of the Fourth Republic, Their Excellencies Jerry John Rawlings and John Dramani Mahama, former First Lady, Her Excellency Nana Konadu Ajiman Rawlings, and the Dean and members of the Diplomatic Corps. Mr. Speaker, the House will also take note of the passing last year of some distinguished citizens of our country. Vice President Kwesi Bekoe Amisa Arthur, UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, Senior Minister J.H. Mensah, Justice of the Supreme Court Justice V.C.R.A.C. Crabb, PND Secretary Mr. K.B. Asante, and the Poet Laureate Professor Atukwe Okai. May their souls rest and abide in the bosom of the Almighty until the last day of the resurrection, when we shall all meet again. Amen. Speaker, I hope the House will bear with me, as I have a lot to say, and I may take quite some time. A month ago, almost to the day, I was in Yindi, fittingly attired as a self-proclaimed Prince of Gabon, Prince Abudani, the first of that lineage, to witness the installation of Yana Muhammad Abukari II as the overlord of Gabon. Thousands of our compatriots were there to share in the joy of the occasion. It was a ceremony that many had despaired we would ever see. But a new Yana, accepted by the two gates of Abudu and Andani, was installed on that day. It brought to an end decades of feuding that laid low the proud and ancient kingdom of Gabon. It was a happy day, and it marked the climax of a long, tortuous journey and a hard grind on the part of many people through the years. 2 years ago, when I had the honor to become president of our country, I decided to summon all the resources of the state and my own energies and make a concerted effort through the dedicated patriotic committee of eminent chiefs that had been working on the problem for the last 17 years to find an acceptable solution. With the blessings of the Almighty, we had a breakthrough, and this led to the month-long series of events that will climax in the installation on 25th January 2019. So, Speaker, I was not looking to be accorded any special title or accolade, and I was certainly not looking for praise. I did want to do whatever I could to make sure that this long-running sore that was such a blight on Gabon and Ghana, and which dragged down the development process in our country, could be resolved and we could move on. We'd spent enough emotional stress, enough time, enough energy, and enough money on the Gabon dispute. I wanted that amount of emotion, that time, that energy, and that money to be spent on trying to make Gabon and Ghana prosperous. I'm grateful for the hard work and wisdom of the eminent chiefs, Tufuosetu II, Asantehene, the Nairi, Na Bohugu Abdullahi Mahami Sheriga, overlord of Mamprugu, that we all continue to build on this achievement and midwife the process until peace becomes part of the fabric of Gabon. The Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs intends to use the momentum of the Gabon settlement to tackle the other protracted chieftaincy disputes in the country, hopefully, for resolution. Mr. Speaker, in order to reinforce and support the process of reconciliation and the restoration of peace in Gabon, I have decided that this year, the official 62nd Independence Day celebration will be held in Tamale on 6th March. Yeah. This will be the first time in our nation's history that the celebration is being held outside of our national capital of Accra, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Mr. Speaker, this past week, the grounds of Jubilee House, the seat of our nation's presidency, have resounded to a lot of celebrations as we mark the handing over ceremonies of the constitutional instruments to the 6 new regions in our country. It has taken 18 months of very hard work and very complicated maneuvering to get to where we are today. Again, the requests and agitations for creation of new regions have been long-standing, and we have somehow never got around to dealing with them. The first petition for the creation of OT region, for example, dates back to 1954. Mr. Speaker, it was time to deal with these outstanding issues so that we could go ahead with the business of developing our country. The creation of the 6 new regions opens up the country and ensures that no one feels cut off from the center. Mr. Speaker, no corner of this country is being left behind. It is for this reason that we have created the 3 developmental authorities. It is for this reason that we have realigned the national budget to ensure that every constituency gets to see the equivalent of $1 million a year for priority projects. Mr. Speaker, I'm able to state, and every member of this House should be able to testify, that work is going on in each of the 275 constituencies around the country. The water and toilet provision segment of the Special Development Initiative is taking place in every constituency. We came into office with a plan, Mr. Speaker, and I'm happy to say that we're working and delivering in accordance with that plan. Mr. Speaker, now that the regions are in place, we have the singular opportunity to avoid the old mistakes of urban planning that have made some of our towns and cities such unattractive places. The lessons will seem to show that the political capital does not necessarily have to be the site of all the institutions, and this will guide us in the setting up of the new regions. Indeed, when designating the capitals of the new regions at the ceremonies at Jubilee House last week, I made it clear the government is committed to the equitable distribution of government structures and institutions across the regions. We will keep to the commitment. Mr. Speaker, we have also embarked on another aspect of our ambitious decentralization program, that is the exercise to expand full democracy to local government. In addition to the creation of 38 municipal and district assemblies and the elevation of 29 districts to the status of municipalities, the bill for the amendment of Article 55(3) of the Constitution has been gazetted to pave way for the direct popular election on partisan basis of metropolitan, municipal, and district chief executives. It is expected that a referendum will be held on the bill alongside the unit assembly and district level elections in 2019. I am calling respectfully, Mr. Speaker, for a repetition of the bipartisan support that made possible the hugely successful outcomes in the referenda for the new regions to ensure the success of the impending referendum. Furthermore, a multidisciplinary panel of experts is being assembled to plan, cost, schedule, and help implement a roadmap for the election of MMDCEs. We're committed to devolving more and more power to the Ghanaian people. Mr. Speaker, the economy is at the heart of all we seek to do. It is the success of the economy that will guarantee an improvement in the quality of the life of our people. I believe we are now all agreed that the fundamentals have to be sound if the economy is to flourish. We've just concluded a program with the IMF and with continuing discipline, we shall sign off from the deal in April. This is the 16th time Ghana has had to go to the IMF in the 62 years of her independence. Mr. Speaker, we cannot make the progress we all desire unless we are consistent and disciplined in the management of our economy. The yo-yo nature of the boom and bust has not helped us achieve our goal of sustained prosperity and lift us out of poverty. We have gone through another round of painful impositions to get to where we are today with healthy fundamentals. Mr. Speaker, production in the economy as measured by real GDP growth has picked up very strongly in the last 2 years. From 3.4% in 2016, real GDP growth increased to 8.1% in 2017. In 2018, provisional data for the first 3 quarters indicate a strong real GDP growth of 6%, higher than the annual target of 5.6%. Real GDP growth for 2019 is forecast at 7.6%. Ghana's recent GDP growth has placed it among the highest in the world. The fiscal deficit is being brought down from the 7.3 of rebased GDP in 2016 to a provisional 3.9% of GDP at the end of 2018. The debt to GDP ratio has declined from the 56.6% of GDP in 2016 to 54.8% at the end of 2018. Inflation has dropped from 15.4% at the end of 2016 to 9.9% in January this year, the lowest in 6 years, as announced by the Ghana Statistical Service last week. Interest rates are declining, and so is the Bank of Ghana monetary policy rate. Our trade balance account, for the first time in more than a decade, recorded a surplus in 2017 and is expected to remain in surplus. In May 2018, a $2 billion Eurobond was issued for 30 and 10 years of $1 billion each, with coupon rates of 8.62% and 7.62% respectively. And these were the lowest rates and the longest maturity in our history, signifying confidence in the economy. It comes as no surprise, therefore, that today Ghana is the leading recipient of foreign direct investment in West Africa. Mr. Speaker, these are good figures. And as we prepare to exit from the IMF program in April, we expect impressive figures and good performance to continue. We are very much aware that this is not the first time we have had such a good set of figures. But we're determined to do things differently this time around. We have imposed on ourselves fiscal discipline. We're paying off legacy debts and deepening good governance practice, and business confidence is growing. We will maintain the discipline and bring progress to our country. We've decided to institute a legal framework to help with the discipline. We've passed the Fiscal Responsibility Law, Act 982, capping the deficit at 5% by law. And some 2 weeks ago, I inaugurated the Presidential Fiscal Responsibility Advisory Council, chaired by the eminent respected economist, Dr. Paul Akwa, former governor of the Bank of Ghana and former deputy director of the Africa Department of the IMF, with some of the finest and most reputable economists of our country as members. Its purpose is to advise the President on relevant additional measures needed to maintain fiscal discipline. We have done this because we know the temptation to go on a spending binge will always be there. We know election years will come around and there will be pressure on government to splurge, and persuasive arguments will be made that you have to stay in government to be able to implement your programs. However, I am bent on running a responsible administration, mindful of the next generation and not merely the next election. In the meantime, our efforts are bearing some fruits, and the world has taken notice of the improvement in our economic fundamentals. In September last year, from Standard & Poor's, S&P, this upgrade saw us move from B- to B with a stable outlook. In December 2018, we also hosted the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Madam Christine Lagarde, a visit that was historical in every sense, as this was the first time that an IMF Managing Director had ever stepped foot on Ghanaian soil. Mr. Speaker, revenue mobilization poses the biggest challenge in the management of our economy, with the tax exemption policy in particular proving to be an Achilles heel and a growing menace to fiscal stability and revenue generation. In the last 8 years, tax exemptions in respect of import duty, import VAT, import NHIL, and domestic VAT have grown from 392 million cedis, that is 0.6% of GDP in 2010, to 4.6 billion cedis, that is 1.6% of GDP in 2018. These figures do not include exemptions from the payment of corporate and individual income taxes, concessions on tax rates, petroleum tax reliefs, customs tax exemptions enjoyed by diplomatic missions, and waiver of processing charges. If we continue at this rate, in less than 16 years, half of Ghana's revenue will be given away as tax exemptions. Mr. Speaker, this is not sustainable, and we intend to do something about it to reverse the trend by introducing suitable measures that may disrupt the easy and comfortable arrangements that many have become accustomed to, but which we have to take to ensure that we have the firmest of foundations for the economic takeoff that has escaped us for so long. Mr. Speaker, workers in the public sector began the year on a good note after receiving a 10% increase in their salaries, on top of the 11% increment of 2018. 41,000 workers in the informal sector were also enrolled onto Tier 3 pension schemes, with pensioners seeing an average increment of 11% in their monthly pension schemes, with the lowest income bracket receiving a 14.7% increment. Last year, the Youth Employment Agency, YEA, engaged some 107,000 youth in various employment modules, with an additional 125,000 set to be engaged this year. Mr. Speaker, to consolidate further the relations between the social partners in the post-IMF era, the government will shortly sign a landmark social partnership agreement with organized labor, the Trades Union Congress, the Ghana Employers Association, and government, represented by the Ministries of Finance and Employment and Labor Relations, to provide a medium for building a sense of cohesion, trust, self-management, frank and open discussions to champion the course of development. Speaker, the fight against child labor has chalked some modest success. Through the implementation of the second phase of the National Action Plan of Action 2017-2021, Ghana has been moved up from the Tier 2 watch list position of the Trafficking in Persons report to Tier 2 in 2018. So, Speaker, our ports remain important national assets, and we must manage them to improve trade and to the benefit of all Ghanaians. The government has introduced reforms at the import to improve efficiency. Among others, would soon be announced by government to enhance the competitive position of Ghana's ports and impact on the cost of living in our country. Ghana may be the competitive position of Ghana's ports and impact on the cost of living in our country. Ghana may be the toast of the world because of its economy. We've all accepted that these economic fundamentals are the foundation upon which our people will become prosperous. But if they are uneducated or poorly educated, then prosperity will continue to elude them. Mr. Speaker, a sudden injection of oil revenue or a rise or fall in the price of gold or cocoa can make a dramatic difference to your financial situation. But there are no shortcuts to having an educated and skilled workforce. We have no choice but to provide our young people with quality education and lifelong learning opportunities for every Ghanaian. It is the only way to ensure prosperity and to protect our democracy. We are not sparing any efforts to make education in Ghana of the best quality and fit for the needs of the 21st century. In September 2019, a new standard-based curriculum will be rolled out from kindergarten to class 6 in primary schools. This curriculum has drawn upon the best practices from all over the world and will focus on making Ghanaian children confident, innovative, creative thinking, digitally literate, well-rounded patriotic citizens. Mathematics, science, reading, writing, and creativity are therefore at the heart of this new curriculum. Mr. Speaker, poverty should not be an excuse for any Ghanaian child not to reach their full potential. It therefore warms my heart that we are now able to say that education in the public sector is free from kindergarten to senior high school, and that this year legislation will be passed to redefine basic education to include senior high school. Young people have to have options on which career path they choose. And I'm glad to announce that all is set for the construction of 10 state-of-the-art technical and vocational education training centers this year. For far too long, we've preached about the importance of TVET without doing very much to demonstrate this importance. We send or urge young people to go to poorly equipped TVET centers, and we're surprised that they are not keen. The new TVET centers will be world-class and attractive to assure young people that they're not being sent to second-best options. We're also bent on demystifying science, mathematics, and technology. 10 science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM centers are being built around the country to provide support for the introduction of STEM into basic education after the completion of the successful pilot phase. We can be sure, therefore, that Ghana's young people will be able to acquire skills that will put them at par with their peers anywhere in the world. The importance of science and innovation to advise the President on how to infuse the application of science and technology. Mr. Speaker, a well-motivated and remunerated teacher is at the center of our quality education and comprehensive teacher policy. This has started with the upgrading of the initial teacher education certificate to degree status and the move to put the teaching profession up there with other professions in terms of respect and exclusivity. Currently, many of our teachers who complete the 3-year diploma in basic education at our colleges of education go on later to do a 2-year top-up first degree by distance learning at the University of Cape Coast. This means that in addition to the extra amount of money spent on getting a degree, it will take them not less than 5 years to get one. With the introduction of the 4-year Bachelor of Education degree, teacher trainees will now obtain their first degree at the end of their schooling. This ensures that they enter the teaching service as university graduates. Mr. Speaker, when our children master the connection between science and their everyday lives, we would reach the stage in Ghana where we would be rid of the many diseases born of filth and poor hygiene that are still part of our lives. In pursuing these goals, we need to remind ourselves repeatedly that health is wealth, and it is only a healthy population that can make Ghana prosperous. In May 2018, Ghana won accolades of the World Health Assembly for having eradicated trachoma, an eye disease that has plagued us for a long time. Today, our national health insurance scheme is buoyant. Government has paid up the 1.2 billion arrears we inherited and brought the operations of the NHIS back to life. On 19th December 2018, the introduction of mobile renewal of membership was launched. Since then, there have been on average 70,000 members renewing their membership every week by dialing *929# on any mobile network. Soon, in collaboration with the National Identification Authority, Ghanaians will be able to register, renew, and access health care services using the Ghana card. We have to thank Dr. Sano's brief but productive stewardship as CEO of the National Health Insurance Authority for that. I wish him well in his retirement. To deliver health care to Ghanaians more efficiently, in 2018, government granted financial clearance for the recruitment of 11,118 health personnel to increase existing clinical staff. To augment the efforts of clinical staff, in September 2018, the Ministry of Health received further financial clearance to employ 14,524 nurse assistants, clinical and preventive. These nurse assistants belong to the tranche that passed their exams in 2016 from government health training institutes and have commenced to work by 1st February 2019. The Ministry of Health is working to obtain financial clearance for the recruitment of the 2017 and 2018 graduates. The health delivery system will be significantly strengthened by the expected arrival in June of 275 ambulances, i.e. one per constituency, to make treatment of emergency cases more effective. Drone technology has also been introduced into that system to help deliver essential medicine, blood, and blood products to remote communities. We still face problems of inadequate infrastructure in our health establishments. We have problems of numerous structures at various stages of completion that cannot be finished and brought into use because newer structures are being started and there's no money to finish the ones started earlier. To speak again, this is a long-standing problem that is a mark of our underdevelopment. We will not ignore or sweep the problem under the carpet. We're dealing with it, and we will complete them. Ghana's hard-working nurses and doctors will do their best, as they have always done, to make sure we get the best health care. But it behoves on each one of us to look after ourselves better. Apart from exercising and taking our regular health checkups seriously, it is imperative that we eat healthy diets to prevent diseases that are caused by short choices of nutrition. Mr. Speaker, when we're dealing with matters of good health, we must necessarily move on to shelter and housing. There is an acute shortage of user-friendly, decent housing for people in middle and low-income brackets in our country. This is a long-standing problem that gets worse with each passing day. It is time to tackle the issue and find a resolution. We're starting with the completion of the many abundant projects dotted around the country. A consortium of local banks has raised $51 million to fund the completion of the social housing units started by the Kufuor administration in 2006 at Koforidua, Tamale, and Ho. The Saglemi housing project, started under the last NDC government, is also high on our list of priorities this year. The 5,000 units it offers will boost our housing numbers. We're therefore establishing the value for money issues surrounding the project in order to reconcile the number of houses built with the schedule of payments made and accelerate delivery. The 2019 budget made provision for the construction of 200,000 housing units and a database of local and foreign developers that has been created to help make this policy a reality. Land banks have also been secured in several towns across Ghana, where factories producing prefabricated building materials can be sited for this huge construction effort. There are many well-intentioned projects that ended up pricing out the low-income earners who were supposed to be their beneficiaries. We're determined to learn the lessons from past projects. The Ministry of Finance is working to launch a 1 billion Ghana cedi housing fund that would target low-income earners. Mr. Speaker, government will continue with the other housing projects with the police, armed forces, and government workers across the country through agencies like the State Housing Corporation. The most exciting news on the housing landscape, though, is the drafting of plans to regenerate Nima, which holds the dubious title of being Accra's first slum. It has, of course, progressed very much since those early days, even if it has been unable to shake off the urban slum title. I'm a proud resident of Nima myself. And I'm extremely excited that the regeneration plans will not dislodge or dispossess residents, but rather transform Nima into a well-laid out residential area with full amenities. I'm looking forward to it. Good work that is being done by the Ministries of Inner City and Zongo Development and Works and Housing. Another big problem is that of poor drainage in our towns and cities, which leads to flooding during the rainy season. And then there's the serious problem of sea erosion along the coast that endangers the lives of our coastal people. It is time to deal with these long-term problems and find long-lasting solutions, and we're doing just that. The Odona storm drains in Accra, which of course are now being re-engineered by a team of experts who will give it a permanent fix. The Judicial drainage system is also on our list of priorities, and a bid has been put out for experts to transform it into a more efficient system. Our ongoing coastal protection projects are proceeding in Adjoa in the western region, Blekusu, New Takrady Phase 2 in Elmina, Dansoman, Axim, and Disco. This year, we'll also begin others in Amalfo, Kuma, Dansoman Phase 2, Komenda, Anomabo, Cape Coast, Mensa Guinea, Ningo Pram, New Takrady Phase 3, Apam, Kokrobite, Botiano, Blekusu Phase 2, and Abuaze Shama Phase 2, Maritime University, Nongwa, Takrady, Enyanui, and Isipon. Mr. Speaker, We're putting in place plans to avert the perennial flooding caused by the spillage of the Bagri Dam, which has resulted in the constant loss of lives and property over the years. In the short term, desalting of the White Volta will be undertaken this year, in conjunction with discussions with the Burkinabés to regulate the flow of the spillage and mitigate its impact. The Ministry of Works and Housing will in the coming week receive a report on the feasibility study conducted by the Chinese company Sinohydro for the construction of the dam at Pualugu to serve as a receptacle to hold the volume of water spilled from the Bakri Dam for irrigation purposes and also for the generation of electricity. This will be the permanent solution to the Bagri Dam problem. The requisite approvals will be sought by the Ministry from Cabinet and Parliament to permit the beginning of the construction of the Pualugu Dam. Mr. Speaker, if there's been any government that has been on the side of persons with disabilities, it is my government. We have increased the share of the District Assembly's Common Fund to persons with disabilities from 2% to 3%. And we have also ensured the implementation of our pledge of employing 50% of the persons who manage the country's toll booths from amongst persons with disabilities. That's how. Mr. Speaker, we're continuing with the initiative to improve the creative arts sector. We've also worked to finalize the Creative Arts Bill, leading to the setting up of the Creative Arts Fund. For the first time in 2018, the government provided support to the Creative Arts Council and the Creative Arts Masterclass to build capacity of creative arts practitioners has also commenced. Visitations to various tourist sites. The World Bank has approved a $40 million grant to support the Tourism Ministry and its agencies to help upgrade tourist facilities. In September 2018, in Washington, D.C., in front of the Congressional Black Caucus of the United States Congress, I proclaimed 2019 as the year of return, commemorating the 400th anniversary of the arrival of the first 20 West African slaves in the Commonwealth of Virginia, in what was to become the United States of America. We intend to use the symbolism of this year of return to bring together Africans, persons of African descent, and all well-wishers and lovers of freedom to strengthen the commitment to ensuring that the blots in our history, i.e. the transatlantic slave trade and slavery, never reoccur. In response to this proclamation, some 70 African-American Hollywood celebrities visited Ghana over the Christmas in December 2018. The year-long campaign, being coordinated by the Ghana Tourism Authority, is expected to increase arrivals considerably. Training across the entire tourism sector is also receiving priority. The Hospitality Training Institute has been renovated and reopened in July 2018 to provide needed training in the hospitality and tourism sectors. Under Tourism Attractions Upgrade Project, several tourist sites, including Elmina Heritage Bay, at Fort St. Antonio, at St. Mansur Slave River, Tetekwashi Cocoa Farm, Bonsu Abrotun, Kintampo Waterfalls are undergoing upgrades. The draft legislative instrument on sites and attractions is currently undergoing final stakeholder consultations. This will ensure world-class standards are set and maintained at all tourism sites and attractions. Mr. Speaker, the greatest attraction of our country is its people. Yes, we have castles and forts, we have waterfalls and dramatic mountain ranges, we have breathtaking beaches and historical sites that reduce visitors to strong emotions. But it is the people of Ghana and our welcome attitude that are the strongest attractions to visitors. We should never forget But we all have a responsibility to make visitors to our country feel welcome. In this year of return, when we have invited the world to visit, I would urge each one of us to make a special effort to make a visit to our country a memorable one. Our music, our foods, our clothes, and the quintessential Akwaaba smile will make a visitor to our country come back again and again. Mr. Speaker, but there are things that many of us do that will put off any visitor from visiting our country, no matter how attractive the geography or the history might be. I refer especially to some of our sanitation habits. Mr. Speaker, public resources must be channeled into ventures that generate wealth and not spent on avoidable expenditures. The cost of clearing and cleaning up our cities and towns after those who litter has become prohibitive. The littering habit seems to be more predominant in the cities and urban areas and mercifully largely absent in the villages. Last year, I reiterated before you my pledge of improving sanitation in the country and making Accra the cleanest city in Africa by the end of my term. I said by the end of my term. Mr. Speaker, there's been a significant improvement in sanitation, even though I acknowledge more can be done. However, this is currently the state of play. We've witnessed an increase in the coverage of solid waste management from 16% to 53%. And over the course of last year, 35,862 household toilets were built, as opposed to 1,698 in 2016. We'll intensify our efforts at making Accra a clean city. In 2019, apart from continuing with educating and sensitizing people, we intend to use the bylaws to enforce cleanliness. The Ministry of Justice and the Ministry of Sanitation are working together to try sanitation offenses. People who litter will be tried and punished, and so will those who steal litter bins from our streets. We're launching a national sanitation brigade to help us carry this out. And through this vehicle, we will not only keep our towns and cities clean, but will also provide jobs for our young people. Once waste is properly and efficiently managed, we can then explore how to use the waste collected to advance the economy of our nation. A cursory look around our cities and towns will show us that plastic filth is our biggest problem. We intend to solve this problem through the internationally recognized priorities of waste: reduction first, followed by reuse, recycle, recovery, and lastly disposal, which is to be avoided whenever possible. Government has prepared a plastics management policy with the overarching aim of meeting the challenges of comprehensive plastic management. About 82% of Ghana's plastic waste would be readily recovered and recycled with existing technologies into value-addition products in high demand locally and within the West African region. A vibrant recycling industry in Ghana could recover nearly 1 million tons of waste plastics from the environment and landfills annually to be recycled into basic need products valued at 2 billion cedis per year, creating many jobs across the economy. Currently, extensive discussions are being concluded with investors on the most sustainable options available to rid Ghana of this plastic filth menace. Mr. Speaker, we're also tackling the problem of electronic waste head-on. On August 20, 2018, I launched the National E-Waste Program to mark the commencement of two key provisions of the Hazardous and Electronic Waste Control and Management Act 917. These provisions empower the external service provider, SGS, to verify, assess, and collect the advanced recycle eco fee on all electrical and electronic equipment from all exporting countries, and also to establish a state-of-the-art recycling facility at Agbobushi, whose construction will begin in April. Not only will we solve the problem of waste disposal in an environmentally friendly manner, setting up the recycling facility will lead to the creation of over 20,000 direct jobs through the establishment of associated holding centers in each regional capital and collection centers in each district. Mr. Speaker, it is unfortunate that in 2019 we'll still have to revisit this topic. But open defecation cannot be a characteristic of a country that is working to be transformed economically and to be counted amongst the developed nations of the world. That is why it is absolutely imperative that we make a success of our one house, one toilet policy. The community-led total sanitation program is being implemented in over 4,500 communities in 130 districts to achieve open defecation-free communities. And we must continue with that program. Mr. Speaker, affordable and reliable energy is absolutely critical to realizing our vision of economic transformation. I'm happy to announce that gas production tripled during the year from 100 to 300 million cubic feet per day. The Ministry of Energy is undertaking steps to remove the transmission bottlenecks, to ensure that Ghanaian gas can reach power plants located in the eastern part of the country. And I'm confident that by August this year, the situation would have been fully remedied to ensure Ghana uses locally produced gas for the bulk of its thermal power generation, saving substantial amounts of foreign exchange on imported fuels. Government is committed to achieving an electricity generation mix that ensures diversity and security of energy supply. For this reason, we will continue to promote the deployment of renewable energy in line with our policy target of 10% renewables in the energy mix from the current 1%. Another justification for renewable energy is that in spite of Ghana's excess electricity generation capacity, we can still not achieve our universal access target because there are many Ghanaian communities, especially those on islands and lakesides, that cannot be reached through the national grid. For example, there are currently 200 island and 2,000 lakeside communities that require mini-grids from renewable sources to meet their energy needs. To reduce government's expenditure on utilities and also promote the use of solar power for government and public buildings, the Ministry of Energy initiated the Solar Rooftop Program. The ministry is leading by example with the installation of a 65-kilowatt solar rooftop system at its premises. Jubilee House, Mr. Speaker, will also be powered as from August this year by solar energy. As an example to other public institutions. In fact, Ghana's government's target is to install up to 200 megawatts of distributed solar power by 2030 in both residential and non-residential facilities in order to reduce government's liabilities to ECG PDS Ghana Limited. Renewable energy has also become a necessary addition to our energy sector because it has become increasingly cheaper and is key to the implementation of our international obligations under Sustainable Development Goal number 7 on access to affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy, as well as Sustainable Development Goal 13 on urgent action to combat climate change. There's been good news with this announcement by Aker Energy of one of the biggest oil finds in Africa. Mr. Speaker, this has led me to think that an MPP government must be good for Ghana. After many years of our looking and almost giving up, we took an MPP government to discover oil in 2007. In 8 years of NDC administration, 13 oil blocks were signed and not a single one was developed. The first one signed in 2017 under my government, which was with Aker, has led to the second biggest oil discovery in Africa. Enough to make a believer of anyone, I might say. Mr. Speaker, there's no avoiding the fact of officials to the detriment of the state and the general public. On the fight and to aid transparency, we've established a national register of contracts on which all the petroleum agreements signed by the government have been published. This provides a platform for citizens to scrutinize the oil contract signed by government and accords with the international call for contract transparency. We've also signed the General Petroleum Regulations, which provide for the disclosure of beneficial ownership information of companies operating in Ghana's oil and gas industry. This will ensure that people do not hide in the shadows to appropriate oil blocks to themselves at the expense of the citizens of our country. The interest of major oil companies in Ghana has become dramatic. Today, oil companies such as the American giant ExxonMobil and the Norwegian conglomerate Aker have signed petroleum exploration agreements with Ghana. Through the launch of the Ghana oil and gas licensing rounds of 2018, the bidding process for the allocation of new petroleum rights to prospective investors, the first such exercise in our history, other global players such as BP, China National Oil, Offshore Oil Corporation, and Total have expressed interest in coming to Ghana. Mr. Speaker, be it in the oil industry or manufacturing or retail, every day demonstrates the urgent need for our own businesses to develop and flourish. We have put in place the mechanisms to train young entrepreneurs and to help establish businesses with a stimulus package to expand their companies. Under the Presidential Support Program, 1,350 startups and small businesses have benefited from a special government business support program. Beneficiaries receive between 10,000 and 100,000 cedis each at a special interest rate of 10% instead of the average prevailing market rate of 26%. This is designed to help grow and expand their businesses and will create about 30,000 direct jobs. 18,000 jobs have already been created under this program. This is the first time in Ghana's history that there's been a deliberate, systematic, and coherent national support for startups and small businesses. Businesses which benefited included agro-business and agro-processing, information communication and technology, tourism and recreation, sanitation and waste management, health, food and beverages, green and ecological businesses, sports and real estate. Already established businesses are also receiving help, with an amount of 230 million Ghana cedis being disbursed among 16 companies under the stimulus package. This has led to the creation of 8,500 to 10,000 direct and indirect jobs. Proof, if someone needed, that we're getting something right in generating the right atmosphere to attract foreign business has come with the announcement that 3 major international automobile manufacturers, Volkswagen, Nissan, and Sanitation, have signed MOUs to establish assembling plants in our country. Renault is also conducting feasibility studies on establishing an assembly plant in Ghana, as is Toyota. We will outdoor in March the National Automotive Policy spelling out the terms, conditions, and incentive package for participating in Ghana's new automobile industry, which will also apply to indigenous car assembly companies. Mr. Speaker, our local textile industry has been struggling for years, and many textile companies have indeed gone under. We have decided to give it a major stimulus to help put it on a strong footing. The local textile industry has therefore been granted a zero-rated VAT on the supply of locally made textiles for a period of 3 years. We have put in place a tax stamp regime for both locally manufactured and imported textiles to address the challenge of pirated designs and logos in the textiles trade. The Tema Port has been designated as a single entry corridor for the importation of textile prints, with a textile task force in place to ensure effective compliance and reduce, if not wholly eliminate, smuggling of imported textiles. A new textile import management system has been instituted, also to control importations of textiles. Mr. Speaker, the one district, one factory policy has taken off. And 79 factories under the scheme are at various stages of operation or construction. Another 35 are going through credit appraisal. All told, there's a lot of activity going on under the scheme, and it has awoken the interest of young people to go into manufacturing business. Under the Rural Enterprises Program, funded by the African Development Bank and the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, 50 small-scale processing factories will be established by the end of the year in 50 districts across the country, particularly in areas where there's evidence of significant post-harvest losses. These will be owned and managed by organized youth groups with technical support from the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Mr. Speaker, small and medium-scale enterprises form the base of businesses in our country, and financing has been the bane of their operations. MASLOC was established in 2006 to meet a critical need by providing the type of small-scale loans needed by these small-scale enterprises at reasonable rates. Sadly, MASLOC was undermined by base political considerations and endemic corruption, and the center was almost run down completely. I'm glad to report that MASLOC has been revamped and is getting back to do what it was set up to do. There's been strict adherence to credit procedures and prudent management of the credit recovery process. These have resulted in a recovery rate of 89% of loans administered under a pilot scheme introduced in 2017. MASLOC was given an amount of 35 million cedis in October 2008 to 18 for disbursement. This is the first time an amount of such magnitude has been given to the center outside of an election year. Of the 35 million Ghana cedis that were received, the center has disbursed 20,563,100 Ghana cedis, with 14,317,200 cedis to be disbursed for pending applications which have been approved. So far, 87% of the monies disbursed have gone to women, to 24,582 women. The 2016 MPP manifesto promised to allocate 50% of MASLOC funds to women, and we have surpassed this by a long margin. It has obviously been noticed that interesting things are happening at the successfully restructured Maslow, and that is why the center was allocated an amount of 200 million cedis in the 2019 budget. Such an amount is unprecedented in the history of Maslow. In 2019, Maslow will give increased attention to youth startup businesses in vegetable farming, poultry, piggery, and fish farming. Mr. Speaker, the incidence of bad government methods that almost collapsed Maslow has unfortunately affected the running of many businesses generally, and the financial sector in particular. The banking sector has gone through what can only be described as a traumatic upheaval. Again, Mr. Speaker, the woes of the banking sector have also been a case of long-standing bad practices that was previously been able to deal with, which we are now having to deal with in the most painful manner. The cleanup has cost the National Treasury 12.7 billion cedis, money we can ill afford, but which was necessary to sanitize the sector, minimize job losses, and protect deposits of 1,147,336 Ghanaians and their businesses and the people they employed. The banking sector has emerged stronger from these developments, has begun to re-inspire confidence in us. In all this, I've been anxious that our local banks are helped and given as much support as possible, which has been done. But I will not be on the side of criminal behavior if that is discovered. I would urge that we are all patient for the investigations to be made in a calm manner. Again, while I'm on the subject of rogue activities in the banking sector, this is probably the time to mention the men's gold debacle. This is a tragic phenomenon that appears to have occurred in plain sight and affected a lot of people in spite of warnings from official institutions. As the authorities try to unravel the intricacies of what happened, I admonish all Ghanaians to learn the necessary lessons for the future, even as state institutions work to bring a resolution to the matter, and those who are seen to indulge in criminal activities are brought to justice. Last week, I inaugurated the Presidential Financial Stability Advisory Council, an interinstitutional consultative coordination body which groups together all the regulators of our financial system and whose purpose is to advise the President on the measures to be taken to preserve the stability of the financial system. The existence of such a body would have forestalled the emergence of the men's gold saga and will make it difficult in future for any such scheme to get off the ground. Mr. Speaker, during times like these of banking and business upheavals, agriculture appears even more attractive. It is more predictable, and the soil and plants and animals far more reliable than sharp figures. The past 2 years have shown that when a government takes deliberate measures to support agriculture, it pays healthy dividends. There has been food, and for the first time in a long while, we had more than we needed. It was not that long ago that Ghana was in the humiliating position of having to import maize from her landlocked Sahelian neighbors and plantain from Côte d'Ivoire. Thanks to the program for planting for food and jobs, admirably organized by that outstanding Minister for Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Afriye Akoto. This House stands informed that in 2018, exports of food crops such as cassava, rice, yellow and white maize, soya, plantain, cowpea, and yam were made from Ghana to Burkina Faso, Togo, and Côte d'Ivoire in considerable quantities. We had a bumper harvest of produce And last year, we did not import a single grain of maize. Based on the successes chalked in 2017 and then in 2018, the ministry took giant strides to scale up the Planting for Food and Jobs campaign in 2019 and to introduce new models of the program. 4 of such new models are the Greenhouse Villages program, the Planting for Export and Rural Development PERD program, the Rearing for Food and Jobs RFJ campaign, and Mechanization Centers program. We are hoping that the success will lead to a fundamental change in attitudes towards farming practices, and the sector will be truly transformed. Bumper harvests and increased food production in general will be the norm and not a surprise once in a while. Extension services will be extended, and our farmers will have the confidence to know that theirs is a worthwhile business from which they can and will get healthy remuneration and respect. This year, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development plans to implement a flagship program, Aquaculture for Food and Jobs, AFP, complementary to the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative to reinvigorate and boost the aquaculture industry. Priority will be given to youth entrepreneurs, distressed farmers, second cycle and public institutions to set up and operate fish farms across the country. This program will offer participating individuals and groups the requisite inputs such as cages, fingerlings, fish feed and training to be able to establish their own farms. The FJ will be implemented for 3 years from 2019 to 2021 in collaboration with the Nation Builders Corps and the School Feeding Program. It is expected to create some 7,000 jobs and act an extra 33,628 metric tons of fish to our domestic fish production. Piloting of the AFG has already started at the James Camp Prison. For traditional fishing, government will collaborate with the private sector to facilitate the provision of 5,000 outward motors and 55,250 bales of prescribed fishing gears through the fisheries associations. To promote the effective and efficient distribution of premixed fuel, we will continue to use the premixed fuel tracking system and audit landing beaches measures which have ensured that since November there has been no report of premixed diversion, a marked improvement from the past. To modernize the fisheries sector, $185 million of loan money has been earmarked for the construction of 12 landing sites and 2 fishing harbors in selected fishing communities in the country. Phase 1 will kick off in March at Axim, Mumford, Winneba, and Tessie. Recently, I cut the sword to commence work at the Jamestown Harbor Complex, which, like the development of Almina Fishing Harbor, is part of our plans for the fishing sector in 2019. Mr. Speaker, as is well known, our lands and water bodies have been under extreme pressure for some time. Farming lands have been destroyed, and rivers that used to provide safe drinking water and fish turned into toxic water bodies. This is why we placed the ban on all small-scale farming, so we could find ways to deal with illegal mining, or galamsey, as it is popularly called. The ban on small-scale mining has now been lifted, but not on galamsey. Some of our water bodies have shown remarkable signs of rejuvenation. River Ancobra, for example, looks restored to life. Indeed, some fish have even been seen in the Ancobra for the first time in a long while. But the battle against galamsey is nowhere near being won yet, and I appeal to all citizens to be part of the battle to keep our lands and water bodies safe. As I have said on several occasions, This government cannot be against mining. It bears repeating that with the Almighty having blessed our land with so many precious minerals, mining inevitably will be part of our lives. That is why I had the pleasure of reopening the Anglo Gold Obuasi mine on 22nd January 2019, which had remained effectively closed since 2014, in fulfillment of a campaign pledge I made to the people of Obuasi on 15th July 2016. Speaker, I'll continue to keep my promises to the Ghanaian people. Mr. Speaker, in order to help Anglo Gold Ashanti secure the needed investment for this project, government investors, with an estimated 2,500 jobs to be created, Obuasi is being brought back to life again. And this time round, under the new management of Anglo Gold Ashanti, the development of Obuasi will reflect the wealth its soil produces, like its other counterparts in other mining cities around the world. Mr. Speaker, we intend also to mine at long last our bauxite deposits in order to establish an integrated aluminum industry in Ghana. The Ghana Integrated Aluminum Development Corporation, a statutory corporation, has been set up with the support of Parliament to spearhead Ghana's commitment to create an integrated aluminum industry. Since its formation, the leadership of the corporation has been working tirelessly with transaction advisors and other stakeholders to ensure the objective of achieving an integrated aluminum industry is executed in a timely manner. A request for proposal is ready to be sent out to the market by the end of this month. This request will solicit proposals from investors interested in partnering government to develop various components of the integrated aluminum industry in Ghana. Taking cognizance of the fact that achieving an integrated aluminum industry agenda requires the uninterrupted and competitive supply of power to the industry, government is in the process of negotiating special arrangements to supply power at internationally competitive rates. This arrangement is expected to be approved by Cabinet and subsequently, hopefully by Parliament soon. The same model is being used for the exploitation of our iron ore deposits, which together with our considerable manganese deposits can enable us fund a steel industry to serve our country and the region. A data center, the first of its kind, now exists at the Minerals Commission, which will allow prospective investors and partners to access every information regarding the bauxite deposits and the aluminum industry. The Minerals Commission is in the course of creating an equivalent data center for our iron ore deposits. Mr. Speaker, the security services are at the forefront of keeping us and our nation safe. Let me pay homage to the men and women of the services for the sterling work that they do. The Ghana Armed Forces, in collaboration with the police and other security agencies, have been in operations Calm Life, Cowleg, Halt, Conquered Fist, Congon, Citadel, Ahojo, and Vanguard. I echo to you, men and women of the armed forces. Ghana is proud of you. Your hard work is contributing to making our nation a safe place. I'd like to mention the improvements that have been registered in dealing with nomadic herdsmen. The Ghana Armed Forces assisted the national security to embark on Operation Roadstar, and as a result, a 40-acre cattle ranch has been constructed to accommodate 6,000 cattle at Wawasi in Afran Plains, reducing considerably the tensions in the area with the nomadic herdsmen. There are plans to replicate these ranches in other parts of the country. Government is pleased to fulfill this promise to the military personnel by increasing the United Nations peacekeeping troops contribution allowances from 35 United States dollars to 35 United States dollars, from 30 to 35 United States dollars per soldier per day. And as promised, we'll continue to pay the troops regularly at the operational areas. We'll continue to modernize and provide the equipment needed by the military to help them carry out their mandate effectively. Tomorrow, I'll be presenting to the Ghana Armed Forces 50 Ankai buses, the first tranche of the 138 staff and operational vehicles of various categories, and 26 dispatch motor bicycles. This year, we'll provide the Army with 30 Otoka armored personnel carriers and 6 fast patrol boats for the Navy. We'll also provide improved training facilities by transforming the military academy into a world-class institution and expand the housing project from 16 flats to 44 and begin constructing 160 two-bedroom apartments across the country. This year, we will also complete and commission the 500-bed military hospital in the Ashanti region. Amendment of LI 1332, which is seeking to change the length of service of the men and women of the other ranks of the Ghana Armed Forces from 25 to 30 years, and the associated career progression plan has been reviewed, laid, and passed by Parliament, and will be implemented this year as planned. Mr. Speaker, it is the police that we, the ordinary citizens, have to deal with in our everyday lives. It is therefore not surprising that often the police come in for a lot of criticism from the people. Speaker, as is the case with many of our institutions, things have deteriorated for a long time, and we have to accept the abnormal as normal. We've been busy this past year supplying the police with equipment, cars, motorbikes, drones, and other vital policing equipment. Financial clearance has been given, and they are in the process of recruiting up to 4,000 men and women into the service. That is the first. Gradually, we're increasing the police numbers, and the service, too, is waking up to its responsibilities and offering more training to their officers. I look forward to a better trained, better equipped, and happier police service that has the respect and cooperation of the people. Mr. Speaker, we need this well-trained police service if we're to abide by the rule of law. I'm aware of the frustration of many at the delays in the justice delivery system, which are the result of a multiplicity of factors which we're trying to address. And this must be the appropriate time and place to mention the abysmal state of the lower courts around our country. Many people must have seen on television the barely concealed outrage of the Chief Justice as she's been going around examining the courts. It is obvious that most of the lower courts are not fit for purpose, and we must provide suitable structures for our law courts. Discussions on how to raise the money are currently ongoing, and I'm optimistic that a solution will be found. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to know that there appears to have been a marked change in the Ministry of Justice. No longer do we have people bringing frivolous claims against the state because they know the case will not be defended and they will get judgment debts. I believe the word is now out that every claim against the government will be vigorously defended, and the state will no longer be the soft touch it used to be for people to get suspiciously large judgment debts awarded to them. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to state that, as you know, Parliament has virtually completed its deliberations on the Right to Information Bill, and that any moment from now, the nation will hear the news of its long-anticipated passage. I will happily assent to it as soon as it is brought to my table. Mr. Speaker, We all await the special prosecutor to start his work. It is in everybody's interest that we know that any accusations of corruption in public office will be vigorously investigated and prosecuted if the prima facie evidence is there. This should be an essential to be a responsible public official who will act when he is ready. Mr. Speaker, Ghana remains an active player in international affairs, especially in the region of West Africa and on the continent of Africa. Ghana's voice is loud and clear on issues at international fora. Good neighborliness underpins our foreign policy, and we try to be at peace with all. I've been intimately involved in trying to find a resolution to the difficulties in our eastern neighbor country of Togo, and we hope that they are coming to an end. Mr. Speaker, communications inside and with the outside are critical for the modern existence of any nation. Our roads inside the country and those leading out to our neighboring countries have been in a dreadful state for a long time. Everybody has by now heard about the arrangements we have made with the Chinese company Sinohydro, and it is a matter of great relief to me that I'm able to say that work will now be starting on the roads that have been designated to be part of that project. It is worth stating that we are very much aware that there are many more roads that do not come under the Sinohydro deal, which are also in a bad way, and we continue to seek ways to build a road network worthy of our nation. I'm glad, Mr. Speaker, to be able to report that the Accra to Tema railway service has started running on the refurbished line. The opening of the Accra and Suwam line has been postponed because sand winners have undermined the ground underneath the track near Pokwasi. It is now being repaired, and the service will start hopefully by the end of February. If we want the railways to work, we would all have to take an interest in and stop the activities of encroachers on the railway lands. The rehabilitation of the narrow gauge line will continue from Nsawam to Koforidua. Work is continuing on the rehabilitation of the Kujokrum to Takwa section of the Western Line, while work on the standard gauge section from Kujokrum to Manso is ongoing. Apart from all the investments being made, the government is committing an extra $1 billion United States dollars to the development of the new railway network. $500 million will be applied to the development of the Western Line, and $500 million will be applied to the first of the Kumasi to Paga section of the national network. The development of the Tema-Ouagadougou railway line is also progressing steadily. 12 shortlisted companies have been invited to proceed to the next stage of the procurement process. This year, land acquisition will commence beyond the Volta River at Mpakanai, and the strategic investor will be selected. To sum it up, the railways are coming in a big way into Ghana, and we shall open up our country for the development that we all desire. Mr. Speaker, government recognizes the significance of aviation to our country's economic and social development. Operations of the Kumasi, Tamale, Takoradi airports have been revamped with a resurgence in domestic airline operations through the introduction of new domestic operators like Unity Air and Passion Air. Soon, the flag of Ghana will be flown again as we have identified strategic investors to launch a home-based carrier. Whilst we embark on the protracted process of building roads and railways to open up our country, we're doing so with modern technology. Mobile technology has almost covered the entire country, and broadband internet connectivity is available in many places. There are 1,200,000 registered and verified addresses through the National Digital Property Addressing System. In other words, we've joined the modern world, gradually leaving the right turn of the blue kiosk and opposite the coffee broke man seller behind us. People are able to renew their national health insurance cards in minutes in the comfort of their own homes. You can now renew your driving license and register a car in half an hour. Register your business to 13 All-Africa Games. It presents our nation with the opportunity to upgrade sporting infrastructure in the country and position our nation as a preferred destination for the development of sporting disciplines on the continent. We began renovating and upgrading our sporting infrastructure, such as the Accra and Cape Coast Sports Stadia and the Azuma Nelson Sports Complex in Kaneshie, and a complete refurbishment of sports facilities across the country. Funds have also been released for the completion of the University of Ghana Sports Stadium, started by the Kufuor-led MPP government, but abandoned soon after 2009. The Ghanaian people are also expectant of a return to normalcy of all football-related activities as soon as possible, and the Normalization Committee is working to ensure that they meet the March deadline. Mr. Speaker, 3 months ago, a member of this Honorable House and the representative of Ayawaso West constituency, the West Wogan constituency, died suddenly, throwing all of us into mourning. On 31st January, 3 weeks ago exactly, a by-election was called to elect a replacement for the late Emmanuel Chiramatin Ejaku. May his soul rest in perfect peace. During the course of that morning, some events took place in that constituency which led to an uproar in the country. My first instinct was to let the police do their investigations and then prosecute if they found evidence of criminality. Their physical and emotional scars to show for it. I could have sat it out here at Tiwa, Chereponi, Talents, and Amensi West, but I decided that that would not be the interest of Ghanaian democracy. The time has come to put an end to the phenomenon of politically related violence. The only way in our system to begin to deal with such a situation is through the work of a commission of inquiry. Thankfully, I got 4 responsible Ghanaians of independent spirit who agreed to serve on the commission. I hope the findings and recommendations of the Emile Short Commission will enable us chart a path to ending politically related violence in our country. The events of last Monday in Kumasi, where a meeting of the national and regional executives of the opposition National Democratic Congress was broken up by acts of violence leading to the tragic death of a citizen, have reinforced the urgent need for us to find that path. I want to use the platform of this message to make a sincere, passionate appeal to the leaders of the 2 main political parties in our country, MPP and NDC, to come together as soon as possible, preferably next week, to agree on appropriate measures to bring an end to this worrying and unacceptable phenomenon of vigilantism in our body politic. Mr. Speaker, I have asked the leadership of the MPP to extend an invitation to the leadership of the NDC for such a meeting. The security services of the country will be on standby to assist this meeting. If voluntary disbandment by the parties is not feasible, then I will initiate legislation in the matter. vigorous debate, and the exchange of ideas should be the true basis of political dialogue and competition in our country, not the activities of party vigilante groups. Mr. Speaker, what was tolerated over the years cannot and must not be accepted anymore. We must not take our peace and security for granted, not for a moment. Our children and grandchildren will not forgive us if we were to compromise our peace and stability. I will not permit that to happen under my watch. Our forebears paid too high a price with their blood and toil to bequeath to us this beautiful nation. And the lives of our citizens are too precious to waste. So, Mr. Speaker, let us come together, shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand, and let us all be guided by the inspirational words of the second stanza of our national anthem. Hail to thy name, O Ghana. To thee we make our solemn vow. Stand first, steadfast to build together a nation strong in unity. With our gifts of mind and strength of arm, whether night or day, in the midst of storm, in every need, whatever the call may be, to serve thee, Ghana, now and forevermore. Mr. Speaker, we have our challenges, but our nation is in good health. I thank you for your attention. May God bless our nation.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Bless you. Over. Honourable members, order. Honourable members, in accordance with our standing order 58, I wish to convey to His Excellency, the President of the Republic, the gratitude of this Honourable House. I seize this opportunity to express our appreciation to the Ghana Armed Forces, the various security agencies, and our own internal security for their services which have ensured the smooth success of this function. Honourable members, again, and in accordance with our practice, a formal communication will be extended to His Excellency the President after this House has dutifully debated the address duly presented. I thank you very much for your cooperation and the extraordinary cool and collection duly assured me and which has been duly implemented. I thank you. Honourable Majority Leader, any indications at this stage?
Mr. Speaker, the President has come to this House this morning in fulfillment of Article 67, which obligates him at the beginning of each session of Parliament and before a dissolution of Parliament to address Parliament on message the state of the nation. Mr. Speaker, we have all seen the poise in the delivery, which is admirable and commendable. The content, which we have all heard, we shall subject to scrutiny beginning next week, Tuesday. In that regard, and having exhausted the business of this day, Speaker, I would want to move that the House takes adjournment until tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the forenoon. In the meantime, we shall see the President off from the chamber in the good company of my colleague, whom I saw nodding in profuse appreciation of the President. Speaker, I thank you, and I so move.
Honourable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the President of the Republic and Commander-in-Chief have dutifully performed his duties as required of him in the Constitution. In this chamber, Mr. Speaker, as you yourself have observed, extraordinary conduct, the honor, the dignity of the President, let today mark the beginning of a rule of thumb that at all times, including when he will soon be succeeded, the same respect will be accorded. Mr. Speaker, with the elevation of the suffering of Ghanaians to misery or prosperity, Mr. Speaker, you are reminded that the safety and security of Ghanaians remain paramount. With that assurance, we will look up to you dealing decisively, ruthlessly, and timely, without any flower.
Honourable members, the motion for adjournment has been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Order. Honourable members, the ayes have it. And this honourable House will stand adjourned to tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the forenoon. Thank you very much.
All right, so as expected, President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has fulfilled his constitutional responsibility. The President shall, at the beginning of each session of Parliament and before the dissolution of Parliament, deliver to Parliament a message on the state of the nation. That's exactly what you've seen the President fulfill in Parliament today. I brought you a live coverage of what he's been talking about so far. My name is Alfred Okanse. As we continue the coverage of the State of Nation address, a post-analysis of what the President said and indeed what this will mean for the next 12 months before he goes into Parliament in election year 2020. That's very significant, so you know. We're live on 3FM 92.7, Unia 95.1 FM, on Connect 97.1, on 3news.com. It's TV3 Ghana on Facebook. My guests join me in studio. We have a discussion on what all of this means to us. Professor Albert Puni is an associate professor in corporate governance, leadership, and business ethics, and is the head of the Business Administration Department and also the associate dean for distant learning at the University of Professional Studies here in Accra, UPSA. Prof, I thank you for your time. Good afternoon. It's good to have you. Also, Dr. George Domfe is a development economist and a senior research fellow, Center for Social Policy, University of Ghana, Legon. I thank you very much for your time this afternoon, sir. And I've been joined here as well by Madame Juliana Brown Afari, who is the National Coordinator of the Informal Hawkers and Vendors Association of Ghana. Madam, thank you. It's good to have you. It's a very nice blend of what you would call both the formal and informal analysis of what the President has told us. So I want to start with you, Madam Juliana. Sitting back and listening to what the President said all the while, how would someone in your capacity, representing that particular constituency of people, make of everything the President has said so far?
Thank you very much, and I want to say good afternoon to all the hard-working informal workers over there. Some of them did understood what the President said, and some of them did not even know what GDP is all about.
True.
I would say that I am happy to listen to the President. He touched on so many things, but it did not reflect the informal trader who is in the market, who even go all the way to a cross-border to buy things to come and sell. The harassment, the duty bearers who collect unlawful money from them. What I want to say today is that the informal sectors are saying that the dollar is going up, the CFA is also going up. These are the monies that we use to buy our petty things that we think, apart from the Ghana things that we buy, it is the CFA and the dollar that we use. And the dollar and the CFA is running very fast.
It's running fast.
Yes.
And you know, Doctor, let me come to you on this, because one of the greatest expectations that many people had was a president addressing the current state of the city and the performance of it against the major trading currencies, especially the dollar and the pound. So now it's trading about 5 cities, 25 pesos, or 5 cities, 30 pesos, thereabouts. Earlier, we had the analysis that if the fundamentals of the economy are strong, it will definitely impact on the exchange rate. So if that analysis is true economically, we see that interest rates going down on Treasury, 91-day Treasury bills going down, policy rate is going down, inflation is going down, foreign reserves are increasing, right? The deficit is going down.
Former traders, sometimes we will make noise in our various places. The government don't listen to us. I've been saying that whenever they are doing their stakeholders meeting or at the bigger forums like that, they should invite some of the informal sector workers so that they will bring their issues. Something that will go with the government to help solve issues.
So you don't have that kind of engagement with government? They don't come to you?
Those people who represent us, some of them are in the office. They are not in the market.
Because I was just coming to the point, because yes, I know that some people who are leaders of your various associations are represented on some issues.
Sometimes when you talk, they said they are a tripartite meeting. What is the meaning of tripartite?
It means that
a woman in the market who don't know how to read and write, and you tell me about tripartite. I don't know what tripartite is. Or if there is something that people have to, those former workers have to come to us to educate us on, to understand what tripartite is. Then also those who are there, who are represent us, when they go, they should come back to the various market to disseminate the information to us. That when we went, this is what we talk about, and this is what we are supposed to do. The informal sector workers are 89%, but we are not together.
So
we are not together. Everybody is speaking on a different platform, different areas that is not linked together. So the government needs to put something in place so that we will bring this majority that is taking care of this economy together and listen to their issues. Give us a good platform that will be speaking to that issue. Then you add it on your formal sector workers that you trust them. That is 11%. We are taking care of this economy, and sometimes our issues are not being addressed or heard anywhere. I will still stress on that because the informal sector workers are doing a very good job. Our daily tolls, our quarterly tolls, and our yearly tolls is helping the government to do whatever they want to do. In return, what do we get? Nothing. Like this state, what did the president do today?
State of the Nation address.
State of the Nation address. Previous 1 week or 2 weeks, you should have sent people to the market to come and educate us or give us a good platform, those who can come and listen to what is coming. Then we all talk about it and then share. Now, if I go and I said I listened to the president's speech, they will ask me, what is GDP?
Essentially, what you're saying is that there's an information services department. And,
yes.
and this is their direct responsibility.
It's not working.
You see, they are not doing their job.
We are part of the economy. We want to be inclusive. We want to add our voice. We also want to help the government to address issues that come to us direct. We are in the market. We are on the ground. We go for cross-border trade. We go to villages to buy those farmers' products. And when we come to the market, sometimes if we don't sell or it gets rotten, what is the government doing so that when you go for the products and you don't finish selling it, where you can keep it so that next time when you need it, you can go for it. So the factories, I'm saying that the government should speed up with the factories so that we can save some of the products. Tomatoes like this, the factory should work very hard because we're still having rotten tomatoes in the market. And especially the plantain and the cassava sellers, they are suffering, down to the okra. You understand? Right. So the government should at least approach those leaders in the various markets, give them a team so that they can discuss. Then you bring those who are in charge of informal sector to come and listen to our issues.
Right.
So that you can use it on any other place. When you go to ILO, they are discussing informal sector. But the government in Ghana is not discussing informal sector formalization. I haven't seen any platform discussing that. But we are transitioning.
True.
We want to work like formal sector workers.
I know that there's some plans in place
education.
to formalize the informal sector, especially the GRA is focusing on you on this. I'm going to go for a quick
Since
break.
2014.
Absolutely. When I come back, it's a very, very, very serious issue that you have raised here, because if we have a largely informal-driven economy and they are not formalized, they are not together, disintegrated, and we are saying we're going to tax them and putting all these measures in place, clearly there's a problem. So I'm going to go for this quick break. I'll be back shortly. We'll get into more of the discussion on post-harvest losses. Do stay.
Ma.
Yes.
I'm going to the bank to deposit some money. I'll be back soon.
Hey, Kofi, walk away. With all that has been going on, you still want to go and deposit your money at the bank? Kofi, Ubakume.
You don't have to worry. I keep all my money at the bank and it's safe.
Really?
Yes. The Bank of Ghana has taken some bold actions to protect our monies, and they have also introduced a lot of reforms to strengthen our banks.
Sir?
These will ensure that banks have more capital to do their business and are better governed and managed so that they can protect the money that we entrust to them. These banks will provide better services and support more businesses and the economy as a whole.
Wow, that's very good. We should continue to keep our money in the bank and not take them to unlicensed institutions that promises the moon, yet run away with our money. Go and deposit your money at the bank, Kofi, and come back quickly for your punching cracker. Yes.
I'll be back.
Bank of Ghana, promoting a safer and resilient banking system.
Mothers of Africa.
Mama, will I ever be a soccer champion for Ghana?
Well, you've got to be like a geisha bar. Stay strong and go so far. Never give up till you reach your goal.
Okay, Mama, I'll be strong and go so far, lasting long like this geisha bar.
Be strong and last long
like geisha.
Pre-order the Huawei Y7 Prime 2019 before 28 February to enjoy free gift box, 32GB memory card and movie ticket. Terms and conditions apply.
Introducing Nestle Milo All-in-One Nutrimix. The goodness of malt, milk and cocoa in Milo, and even more milk. Just add to water and enjoy the perfect cup of winning energy.
Milo! Milo! TV at Tikusi.
I'm Bernie TV. Ubenge TV, Papa. We also will refer to trade enterprise. And I'm telling you first, I'm going to Franco and go to be see. And how to cry and faka. Uber 2 was. Now Google. What download Franco app? What download there? TVs now, laptops now, phones now. Open Sinus TV and now Sinus. Open Sinus. Say no 32. So the location address here. Oh yeah. Ain't to be on my phone. Oh, and it's a coming moment.
Hello, good afternoon. Banco Trading.
I'm a patron in your order, Sinus TV here. So, whoop a phone, Papa, TV, Papa, and a laptop, Papa, and Franco Trading.
Hello, my name is Gladys Amwa. I'm the Managing Director of Unilever Ghana. February is the month of love, and what is most precious to all of us is life. And to save a life in this month of love, we're asking you to donate blood. TV3 and 3 Foundation, in collaboration with Accra Regional Hospital, are having a blood drive on the 23rd of February, starting at 8 a.m. prompt. Please come and show your love, come and save a life, come and donate blood.
Brought to you by GT Bank, Nescofa Blood Tonic from NS Chemist, X Mineral Natural Water, the Community Hospital.
This week on Music. It's your boy B right here. Fatia Fatan Kruma don't be na me woman ode. Surely assassin query cry you be my babe. Missing me pobia just say we be like Aki and Popon. Nobody go fit to break our bondo. I still can't believe this. I can't believe I can't take control of myself. Babe, makoma boy me bang bang bang. Me feel and I say me now my own corner me kosun. Baby, the first time you gave me that answer, that you're gonna be my lover, you should have seen my face. You should have seen my face. Forget about them. Nobody could feel love you like I do. I do.
Music, it's you don't want to miss this. Brought to you by Adonko.
You're welcome back to our post-analysis of the State of Nation Address 2019 as presented by the President, fulfillment of Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution. My guest still with me in studio, Professor Albert Puni, is an associate professor in corporate governance and then also the Dean of the Distant Learning Program at the University of Professional Studies here in Accra. And then also we have Dr. George Domfe, development economist and a senior research fellow at the Center for Social Policy, University of Ghana, Legon, and Madame Juliana Brown-Ofari, who is the National Coordinator of the Informal Hawkers and Vendors Association of Ghana. I've been joined as well by Mr. Ben Arthur, who is a labor analyst as well. Thank you, gentlemen, once again. Mr. Arthur, I will welcome you now to join us now. Great. Now, before we went for that quick break, we were focusing on post-harvest losses and whether this 1D1F would competently address this particular problem. Dr. Domfe, let me come to you now, because development economics obviously has agriculture in there. And post-harvest losses is one of the major concerns that we've been grappling with. Do you see any measure in place as announced or as you heard from the President in addressing this in the coming years?
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother. Yeah, so you rightly mentioned, you rightly mentioned one district, one factory. And to me, that is the way to go. We were discussing, my good professor made mention of the fact that when the government comes to begin a very good policy, another one comes and, that becomes the other, that becomes history. And I want to say that this particular policy, MPP, NDC, and every political party, every well-meaning Ghanaian should come on board. This is the only opportune time for us to get ourselves out of that cycle of having to always talk about CD every now and then since 1987 when we went flexible exchange rate regime. Days before 1987, government would come, will get up a day and say that this year you are going to trade so and so amount of dollars for CD. But after we went flexible exchange rate regime, what it means is that now it is the market that is determining the value of the CD. And what has been happening, and I wanted to talk about that, what has been happening is that usually when CD has a problem, the government goes into the reserves, and then they will supply to the banks. And that's how we increase supply of the foreign, currency. That's not bad if indeed it is coming from cocoa and gold sold. Sure. But it becomes very bad when government sometimes has to go out there and borrow to supply just to strengthen the value of the city. Once you do that, when you have to pay, you are also going to pay in dollars. And so when you have to pay, then the problem comes. And so anytime you use that approach to solve the city problem, you've just suspended the problem. And I always say that that's a lazy way of managing the economy. And so the only way to go is to increase local production, and one district, one factory has shown the way, and indeed they have started, and I hear there are quite a number of challenges, but we all have to put our heads together to get through. You were talking about the post-harvest losses, and let me say that is a problem to me as I sit here personally, because I cater for so many miles. I come from there, and one district, one factory, planting for food and job really worked there, and so they produce so much. Somewhere around November, they were calling me for money and asked, but you guys this year you did very well, and all I was told was that everything they produced went bad because people didn't come there to buy. The road from Asusu to Delma became more travel when during the rainy season, and so cars could not go there, and that. So that
those are the agriculture chain. The factors in there have not been adequately addressed.
Exactly. If you really want to solve this problem, and that's where I was going to. Delma, Techimentia, Commander, we grow a lot of tomato, and so you need to establish a very big tomato factory in that enclave. Once you are able to do that, then the supply will come directly from the farmers, and that's how you can address the problem, right? And so I have always said that it doesn't have to be one district, one factory. Delma, Akoma Dai, and they are all in district. They are all in different districts, right? But you can start a very big factory, one factory for that enclave, so that when the farmers produce tomato, everybody then goes there to sell. And once that happens, if I produce today and I get market for it, I'm encouraged to produce more next year.
Absolutely.
You know, this very beautiful thing that we have seen the president is talking about, the father is not going to be a one-day wonder.
Yes.
Has happened to Ghana before.
True.
In the 70s, there was Operation Feed Yourself. So many people went into farming. They produced so much, and because there was no market for it, the following years, people were discouraged from going into farming. And so it is very important that particular aspect is looked at, so that once the farmers produce, they get ready market, and once that happens, then in future they are encouraged to produce more.
Fantastic point there. And you're still live here on TV3 on 3FM 92.7, on 95.1. This and many other issues going to be discussing. But let me just do a quick recall of that interview that we had with the former President John Dramani Mahama.
What can you say? He said that he's ready to meet all the political leaders of the two political parties next week for a meeting to find ways in dealing with the security issues you have raised. What do you have to say?
That's a first initiative, and it's a good one.
And is the NDC going to be there?
Well, the executive will decide. I'm not the leader of the party. Thank you.
Can I get your full name and your designation?
My name is Molvi Mohammed bin Sali. I'm the Amir, head and missionary in charge of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission Ghana.
Okay, so you were in the chamber, you heard
Yes.
what the president said.
Yes, I heard everything.
What's your take on the president's State of the Nation address?
Overall, it was quite reassuring for a country that is making an effort to register itself in the Committee of Nations, and so far so good. And every aspect of it was very good and reassuring. But most importantly was the president's reassurance to the people of this nation that under his stewardship, he will ensure that peace is brought to this country. I was very much touched with that declaration, particularly with the fact that he will ensure that political vigilantism and the like, and the unnecessary political rivalry that we have in this country, which unfortunately is pulling our country backwards. He has today pledged to the whole of this country that he, as a president, in person, will do everything possible to ensure that that is a thing of the past, and that he's invited the two leading political parties to kind of smoke a peace pipe, in the sense that they represent the people of this country in the assembly. They are the mouthpiece.
So that comment and that exclusive we had with former President John Dramani Mahama about the president's position on politically related violence, or what now is we were going to call private militia groups initiated by political parties in this country, that the time has come to put an end to politically related violence. And he hopes that the commission is going to do that job, or will be the vehicle for the beginning to the end of this particular politically related violence. Ms. Alpha, let me bring you in here at this point. That position that the president made, that look, if you MPP and NDC leadership fail to come together to deal with this matter, I would have no option than to initiate the legislation to deal with this. Let me find out your thoughts on this position.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to all your viewers. You pardon my voice a bit.
It's all right.
But I don't know if you could give me a bite on the post-harvest losses.
Great, that's fine.
Yeah, because it's very dear to my heart.
Absolutely.
I'm coming from a farming community, and in my village, we experience a lot of post-harvest losses. One of the key things that I think we need to address is not just the factories. The factories are all right. The one district, one warehouse is also all right. But we should tackle it from the demand side, the consumption side. For example, if we have a culinary industry in Ghana, or we have set up a whole school training specific people how to come out with certain meals, with our farm produce, I'm sure without having to set up, factories everywhere, we'll be able to process some of the food that we produce in much larger quantity. We'll widen our taste of our local meals, and then by and by we take them to our schools. It becomes our culture. If you come from a community where nobody eats much rice, you grow up not enjoying rice. I had a father, my late father. Anytime you boiled rice, he would tell you that, what it means is that, didn't you cook today? Because he was expecting
some rice.
Not rice, maybe a type of fufu, that type of thing. So we need to tackle it from there. We also need to ensure that fertilizers, which is a very large component of some of these inputs, are produced in Ghana. But at the bottom of this issue is accessibility to markets.
True.
If you don't have access by road or by the market itself and the presence of traders, you definitely don't have anything to do with agriculture, because you're not going to make profit. Let's go back to your core issue of vigilantism and the rest. Again, if I look at the president's speech, it smacks of maturity on his side. For the first time in many years, I see a president who is very passionate, in the driving seat, ensuring that wherever you are coming from, you'll be involved in decision making to ensure that at least if we have a common issue that one side cannot tackle, let's bring the two sides on board. But the key question that if the president were here, I would have asked him, is that would he care to also address the structural issues? Because when you talk about political vigilantism, the violence, they are informed by a certain structure. And that is what I think that we need to transform. Because if you transform the structure, eventually the feedback, the effect will also be transformed. But that's the long-term measure. It's good, and I urge the two parties, to sit down and negotiate the matters in good faith. I'm using this word, advice, in good faith. But the attempt to legislate, yes, you can legislate. I'm just being sincere with all of us here. You can legislate, but if the will is not there for participation, for implementation, you can have laws which remain on the shelves. They become ineffective. Enforcement is dead. Nobody is interested in it. But there's one aspect of his speech which I think I love. Normally, when you have political exclusion, economic marginalization, then people see elections and political positions as very key in distribution of national resources. Sure. Therefore, whatever they will do in order to annex power, that is what they will do. And that is how come people are ready to sacrifice their lives only for somebody to become an MP, only for somebody to become a president. So if we are going to have a referendum, if I may land, if we are going to have a referendum that will ensure that MMDCs are going to be elected, at least it will broaden the participation. It will lessen some of this vigilantism in the long term. At the end of the day, if we're going to have, in my view, a referendum, we need to include many other things that bring out the vigilantism and the exclusion. For example, if you have a president who has been elected for just 4 years, knowing that I have another chance to go, you realize that a lot of policies are geared towards short-term measures. And it is natural. You cannot blame anybody. It is natural because you ought to win political power before you can do any other thing you profess you are capable of doing. So we need to do that. Possibly maybe 7-year term, 1 term for a president would do. We also need to segregate. When I talk about participation, we need to segregate entirely parliament from the executive. In the future, we don't have to have a parliament that has 1 leg in the executive 2 legs.
Well, this was contained in that white paper after the Constitutional Review Commission's report. So implementation is always the issue, and I'll come back to that. But let's take a quick recall of what the president said with respect to politically related violence in this country.
Indeed, Mr. Speaker, recent by-elections in Akwatia, Etiwa, Chareponi, Talensi, and Amenfi West have been marked with violence, and some people still have their physical and emotional scars to show for it. I could have sat it out as some did for Akwatia, Etiwa, Chereponi, Talensi, and Amensi West. But I decided that that will not be the interest of Ghanaian democracy. The time has come to put an end to the phenomenon of politically related violence. The only way in our system to begin to deal with such a situation is through the work of a commission of inquiry. Thankfully, I got 4 responsible Ghanaians of independent spirit who agreed to serve on the commission. I hope the findings and recommendations of the Emir Short Commission will enable us chart a path to ending politically related violence in our country. The events of last Monday in Kumasi, where a meeting of the national and regional executives of the opposition National Democratic Congress was broken up by acts of violence leading to the tragic death of a citizen, have reinforced the urgent need for us to find that path. I want to use the platform of this message to make a sincere, passionate appeal to the leaders of the 2 main political parties in our country, MPP and NDC, to come together as soon as possible, preferably next week, to agree on appropriate measures to bring an end to this worrying and unacceptable phenomenon of vigilantism in our body politic. Mr. Speaker, I have asked the leadership of the MPP to extend an invitation to the leadership of the NDC for such a meeting. The security services of the country will be on standby to assist this meeting. If voluntary disbandment by the parties is not feasible, then I will initiate legislation in the matter. Vigorous debate, and the exchange of ideas should be the true basis of political dialogue and competition in our country, not the activities of party vigilante groups.
So that's the president. Now, Professor Pune, let me come to you now. I mean, it's clear. They know what the situation is. MPP and NDC are the helm of this particular issue. The president talks about legislation if negotiation fails. Initially, we had him give a directive to the IGP. It appears that he's reviewing that position because 2 years on, there was an appeal last week by the IGP to the parties. How differently will this address this problem that we have on our hands?
If the president, if the parties can resolve to ban the whole thing, then it means that we have to find a law that vigilantism is going to be an offense.
So you are for the legislation if the negotiation fails?
You see, one basic problem is that if you look at the police service, which will lead in ensuring that if you engage in vigilantism, you are arrested and then you are sent to court. Already the government in power is appointing the police hierarchy. Absolutely. So that kind of...
so you think that the directive to the IGP 2 years ago was faulty? Because of this particular...
and even if you legislate it, and then the police is to arrest whoever is involved in that offense, the political party in power is holding the police. The police is not very independent to go out there and enforce the law.
So before the legislation will work effectively,
we have to
change
that institution,
appointing authority.
Exactly, we should look at it. We should look at it because you see, we have practiced this democracy for some time now, and then all the time we are having certain problems happening, and it's a trend. this vigilantism is not today. You heard the president said that he would have expanded the commission to cover Etiwa and the rest,
places, yes.
Meaning that these issues were happening previously.
True.
But he wants to actually solve it. So in solving it, I think that if they are not able to resolve to ban the whole thing, then they must, if they legislate, the police must be made independent.
So
that
the appointment of the IGP
they can go
must
out
not
there,
be by the president.
They can go out there and arrest without any fear. But I know our politicians wouldn't like.
You know, so
Alfred, I wanted to interrupt you.
Maybe there is a case.
The way with your energy stressing on appointment of.
But that's the basics of
Ghana.
the problem. I'm going to go for this quick break. I'll be back and then we'll round up the conversation. Stay tuned.
Sips Alata soap is a truly natural soap with effective skincare properties. It comes in 3 different flavors: Oriental, Vanilla, and Lemon. Sips Alata soap adequately moisturizes your skin, making it smoother and softer. For bulk purchase or inquiries, contact Sips Company Limited on 0244 28 0272 or 0241 293726. You can also locate Sips Company Limited on the Springtex Road, Accra, adjacent endpoint and just after the Shell signboard.
Sips Alata soap. Eya woti ya wo be mem ana eya imo hyehyew wo sensu fitaa bi firi mu ba ugu nso ntentem ana ya ugu nso a na emu ache woti ya wo sabi wa ya ase esese wo bobrim se bi ana prostate na ho aba hawo eya na onsa na ase wo na ya ye titiri waposo tutu wo nante a na wa ye dududu eya se bibi ne na mo widie mu e bia na stroke yade na ebo wo kaye endpoint homeopathic clinic e wo nimdi ode beboa wo Endpoint, our Accra, Spinters Road, Shell Signboard, Tema, Committee 22, Poanaso Hotel Echi, Kumasi Chronoma Buenya Angel School Complex, Sakra Day, Endpoint, our Anaji Queen of Peace, inside, Anaji Police Station Echi Pe. Techimine, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, our Hansa, and Nick Jos Bro Filling Station, and a Dean Shenimu. For Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, our 0244 867 068.
Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, I'm free.
The Ghana Trade Fair Company brings you the 23rd Ghana International Trade Fair under the theme Made in Ghana, Globally Accepted. Date 28th February to 11th March 2019. Checked. Venue, the Ghana Trade Fair Company Law. Checked. What's next? You have to register. Yes, today. Agriculture, fashion, food processing. Check ekrasi.com. Tourism, pharmaceuticals, manufacturing, and just any product or service. Rush to register, exhibit, sell, network, and be globally accepted. Get involved in the 23rd Ghana International Exhibition. Call
0241 818658, 0555 528817, or 0552 474632.
Or visit www.tradefairgh.com for further inquiries. Made in Ghana, globally accepted. Sponsors.
Pre-order the Huawei Y7 Prime 2019 before 28 February to enjoy free gift box, 32GB memory card and movie ticket. Terms and conditions.
Welcome back. Now, Dr. Dompe, very finally. Now, underlying this matter are 2 things: lack of jobs and lack of confidence or trust for the security agencies on the part of the NDC. And if you look at the MPP, most of these people are grafted into the security agencies. So how do we deal with this matter?
Thank you very much. That if you have not asked this question, that is actually what I was going to say. That the supply, we're talking about party and political party and vigilantism, and to me the supply is also an issue. Who are the people who are always engaged to do those things? To me, it's we have a very beautiful economy that doesn't provide jobs. I have said this here before, that about 5 years ago we did a survey, and it came out from the survey that every year over 300,000 new entrants join the Ghanaian labor force. 300,000. And government has capacity as a public service to engage only 5,000 of this number. What is even scary is the fact that 85,000 of the 300, and a little over 300,000 are coming from the tertiary, institutions. And these days, when one leaves university, on average, it takes the person 8-9 years before he secures a job. And so, if you have these people there, they are not doing anything, they are intelligent, they've learned so much to contribute to the progress of the economy, and they are not being given a chance to be part of the production process, then anybody can use them at any time. And to me, that is another issue. And so, we really need to push our economy. I always say, match the economy boot for boot to produce.
You are using it advisedly.
Yes, of course. To produce. Right. To produce. Everything that we're talking about here today has been on production. Back in the 1970s, when I was at primary school, our land, we used to talk about value addition to our raw material, and we've been talking. We talk a lot. Talking.
All the while.
We have to move
action.
from talking to action.
Madam Afari.
Yeah, for me, I will appeal to the president and those who are in charge of our security to try and solve this issue. It is very dangerous for informal sector workers, because all the time the politicians, they fall on us in our markets, our places, and we follow them. So if they will come to power and our children will be dying left and right, that is very scary. I will appeal to the authorities to see to this issue very seriously. Some women are crying secretly that people are not seeing because they are losing their children.
Sure.
And the informal sector workers are saying that if they will come to power and our children will be dying, they shouldn't fall on us in the market because our issues are not being taken seriously. We appeal to them once again that the country needs peace. It's not about killing each other. It's about proper dialoguing. This one is from the informal sector. We want peace in the country.
Certainly, madam. Thank you so much. We want peace. And that rounds it up for us. Madam Juliana Brown Afari, who is the national coordinator of the Informal Hawkers and Vendors Association of Ghana, also the WIEGO board member. Dr. George Domfe, development economist and a senior research fellow at the Center for Social Policy at the University of Ghana, Legon. Professor Albert Poni, who is also an associate professor in corporate governance, leadership and business ethics, and the dean of the distant learning faculty at the University of Professional Studies here in Accra. And Mr. Ben Arthur is a labor expert, among many other things that he does. Gentlemen, thank you. And a lady, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I want to thank you very much for staying with us here, and it's been a special coverage of the State of the Nation address on our various media general platforms. My name is Alfred Okanse. On behalf of the rest of the team, we want to say thank you for staying with us, and follow the hashtag SonaGhana, hashtag SonaGhana on all social media platforms. Do have a good afternoon. Enjoy the rest of our programs.
No sé exactamente